Welcome back to this I-24 News Evening Edition. This is One-on-One. One of the most burning issues in Israel is the subject of religious ultra-Orthodox joining or getting exemptions from army service and the question of service in the Arab-Israeli community. Since the foundation of Israel, there has been a status quo that both communities won't have to serve in the IDF. But in the last years, the voices became louder, calling for sharing the burden. One of the people closest to this is with us today, former Israeli member of parliament Yohanan Plesner. In May 2012, he was the head of a committee that tried to find the middle ground in this burning issue, but the conclusions never got to the government's desk, and it caused a political crisis that ended in early elections. Yohanan Plesner is also serving and served as an officer in a top IDF commando unit, and today is a senior fellow at the Institute for National Security Studies. Thank you very much for coming to the studio.
It's my pleasure.
So why didn't it end up on the government's desk?
Look, we're dealing with a very complex social, cultural, historical issue that has been, in many ways, even preceding the days of the State of Israel. When we deal with the Ultraorthodox community, it's still in many ways the struggle of the Jews leaving the Jewish religious ghetto and the trauma of the emancipation of the period of Enlightenment. And the response was, we have to close in, we have to be very rigid, dogmatic. And it worked, this solution, for the first 60 years of the state, because the ultra-Orthodox community was rather small in numbers. Given the increasing numbers of this community and also the very relaxed regulations since 1977, the first Likud government, I think the combination of those trends led to the current crisis.
In a way, we're seeing that the ultra-Orthodox community can understand the need and that they have to serve in this way or another in the army, but the Arab community refuses to actually understand that and refuses to put itself in this situation because we can say that it's problematic. So why to force it?
No. So first of all, I agree with the second part of your statement and not with the first. The first part, with respect to the ultra-Orthodox community, I don't think we reached a point of realization within the mainstream of the ultra-Orthodox community that there is a need to serve, that there is a need to share the burden. It's a very close-knit community. The big challenge of Israeli state is really to integrate the ultra-Orthodox community both into the institutions of service and to the Israeli economy, and I think that both challenges are linked. With respect to the Arab minority, I think the challenge here is very different. It emanates from very different historical, cultural, national roots and so on. And therefore, I am not of the opinion that military service has to be imposed on the Arab community. It can be offered as an option, which it is today, maybe more encouraged in greater sense. But there is the issue of a civil service that I think is over time something that ought to become a norm also within the Arab community.
I think that it's the voices in the Arab community is basically saying that we cannot fight our own people by going to the army, and there is a big debate whether to call it a national service or to call it a community service. But there is, even from a strategic point of view, I'm trying to ask if the state wants to find itself having Arab citizens serving in the army and finding themselves in the battlefield, asking themselves the question in the battlefield if they can or cannot do the order that they were given.
So first of all, there's a distinction between, you said whether it should be called national service. There's a terminology that is pretty much accepted, civil service. And in this respect, it manages to deal with the complexities. With respect to military service, given the complexities, I think it should not be imposed. But nevertheless, we do have many citizens that define themselves as Arabs who do serve. The Druze, our Druze community is not Muslim, but defines itself as Arab, and nevertheless serves many members of the Bedouin community, many members now increasingly of the Christian Arab minority are interested in serving, and there are Muslims who serve, and it's fine, and it should be opened up for volunteers, for those who want to be part of the national burden. Question of civil service is different, because there you're not demanding of a citizen to deal with two contradictory elements of his identity, the say Arab-Palestinian element and the Israeli civilian element.
So if you're saying that this is a consensus in the Israeli community, that everybody should serve, everybody should give their duties to the country that they're living in, how come it failed?
I didn't say that I actually said that among the ultra-Orthodox community, we're not there yet.
But in the majority of the Israeli community, it is.
But there's among Israelis that are not of the Arab or ultra-Orthodox minority, obviously there is a sort of a pretty much vague agreement that national service should be preserved as an important norm. However, it depends on what is the political price that you're willing to pay. Historically, the modern Orthodox community had a sort of unofficial alliance with the ultra-Orthodox. You will support us on the issues concerning the West Bank, and we will support you here.
Let me put it this way. Maybe the government didn't want to fight with some parties and didn't want to put itself in an inconvenient situation.
Of course, there's the element of the political power of the ultra-Orthodox parties that are in our coalition. Of course, in our coalition that is in our system of government, the coalition government, when you have single issue parties, the ultra-Orthodox parties that are really concerned about the welfare and the education system of this ultra-Orthodox community. So it's pretty much they're an easy partner for every prime minister. You look after one issue and they give you quite a significant degree of freedom to manage your other agendas. And therefore, we've seen the logic that led all prime ministers to pretty much dodge this issue ever since 1977, until they were forced to deal with it a year ago.
So you were in the political arena and you went out of it, and now when you're looking at it from an outer perspective, was it a good thing for you? Was it a good experience for you to understand better maybe the Israeli politics? And maybe to understand that sometimes you cannot win?
First of all, it's a good question. But it boils down to a more fundamental question. Why do you enter into politics? If you enter in order to secure yourself a nice, cozy position in the parliament and without real concern to any major issue that you want to promote, then probably it's not a good strategy to deal with such an exposed nerve of the Israeli society. But I see the goal in entering into politics in order to change at least one, to help change, affect, influence at least one of the fundamental issues that are defining this society, and to try and address one of its major challenges. This is the role of a political leader. Otherwise, you can be a bureaucrat. And I think that this is, over time, a very important issue for Israeli society to maintain its levels of solidarity, to maintain our ability to protect ourselves, and to integrate, mainly with respect to the issue of recruitment, the ultra-Orthodox community, because I agree with you that the issue of the Arab minority is a lot more multi-dimensional and complex. And therefore, I think that given the demographic trends, it's a major fundamental issue. And the nice thing about demographics is that they give you a heads up to get your act together.
I want to take you back to your days in Kadima, the party Kadima. One of the heads of Kadima is now, let's say, negotiating the peace process, Tzipi Livni. And I want to ask you, is she capable? Because as the head of the opposition, she didn't do such a good job.
Well, Tzipi Livni has a very strong conviction around the Palestinian issue. And I think that, and it was always the case, from the whole idea of splitting up from the Likud and founding Kadima was around the need to lead towards a breakthrough in the Palestinian issue, hopefully via negotiation, and to lead to a partition of the land. And in this respect, I have no doubt that Tzipi Livni is very committed. She's now leading the negotiation. She did it under Prime Minister Olmert. She's probably one of the most competent politicians when it comes to the actual issues of...
Were you a little bit disappointed from her as the head of the opposition?
No,
sit down and not do anything when you have the power as an opposition leader?
It's not a secret that I had at the time criticism, and that's why I also chose to support Mr. Mufaz to replace Livni, because I had criticism. Not so much there were no ideological differences between us, but I did have criticism on the way she conducted herself and our party as the opposition leader. So
from the perspective of a military man and from the perspective of ex-political participant in the political arena, do you think that this time something is going to be achieved between the Israelis and the Palestinians? Or something should be achieved?
Should be, of course.
At least this time?
No, of course. It should, all those who say that it's no longer an important issue, obviously it's a complete misreading of our reality. From the foundation of the state, as a matter of fact, from the foundation of Zionism, this conflict is accompanying us, and until it will be resolved, it's an issue that will corrupt or disrupt our relationship with our neighbors, with our allies throughout the world, from within. So it's an issue that I disagree with the analogy at the time used by Minister Bennett that pretty much tried to label it a non-issue.
I will tell you something, because I'm trying to understand.
But at the same time, do I think that actually this specific initiative will lead to a major breakthrough? Among the sort of political pundits, there's a healthy skepticism, and unfortunately, I think I'm also skeptical because I don't think at this point there's the ripeness, neither among the Palestinian partner nor among the Israeli government in its current format to make the necessary decisions.
I will tell you why I'm asking, because it seems that we spoke a little bit before, and it seems that this time both Abu Mazen and Benjamin Netanyahu are playing the same games, are playing
They're
at the
pretty
same
much
level.
Preparing for the blame game rather than actually going for the main dish. And I think there's no doubt that the Americans, led by President Obama and Secretary Kerry, are very adamant to move forward. I don't think that I see sufficient political will in both sides to make the necessary painful decisions, but hopefully I'll be wrong.
So do you think that maybe Benjamin Netanyahu is not enough of a leader to actually be very courageous and do the step ahead?
You don't need my forecast, because we will hopefully find out pretty soon. But I think it requires from Prime Minister Netanyahu very strong conviction and a very strong political will, because if he wants to move forward, it would be extremely difficult for him, not because of Bennett and his Minister Bennett and his party, because within the Likud, the grassroots of the Likud would make it very difficult for Prime Minister Netanyahu to move forward in a substantial manner. And in this respect, he has to sort of use all the political skill that he acquired over the years in order to overcome this internal difficulty. Well, it's yet to be determined. And on the Palestinian side, I'm also not I'm pretty much detecting they want to win the blame game in order to go for the international maneuver of...
Yohanan Plesner, I have to stop you because 16 minutes already passed and our time is up. Thank you very much for this.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. And thank you, our viewers, for being with us tonight. Tomorrow we will be here at the same time, same place from the Jaffa Port, Israel. Have a great night.